right, here we are, episode 8, I think, right?
I don't know.
Iron Age Radio, episode 8, coming from the land of fire and ice, Iceland. We just finished the Madison for Madison Classic here. I'm sitting with a very, very special guest that we have today here. Not a man that I don't believe has been interviewed all that often. My guest today is one of the true war horses of Canadian Strongman. Last year, he took second at the official Strongman Games, which earned him a ticket to the big show, The World's Strongest Man 2023. Stellar performance in the heats. Got right into the finals, where he finished not only top 6, but set a world record in the keg toss, breaking Brian Shaw, but not just anybody's world record, Brian Shaw's record. In the process. Since then, he's had fantastic showings at the Strongest Man on Earth, Giants Live Finals in Scotland, and North America's Strongest Man, and more recently, the Madison for Madison Classic in Iceland. He's the original moose and Canada's friendliest strongman, Wes Derwinsky.
Woo! Some of us just get lucky, buddy. Some of us just get lucky.
I was going to say he's also Canada's luckiest strongman, some would say.
True.
Too.
Some might say that. Yeah.
How are you feeling, man, after 3 days of competing in the cold?
Not too bad. Like most of us here, we're either sick now or we showed up sick. So, a little bit happy just to be done and out of the cold. But, yeah, that was a tough comp,
So this is like the end of, for sure, what has to be like your biggest, if not your busiest year. You did, we were all over the map on like what people would consider like the creme de la creme of strongman shows, the really, really big shit. Yeah. So how do you feel at the end of this year compared to, other years where Canada's Strongest Man was your big show of the year or something like that?
Yeah, was a hell of a year. Did everything except for the Arnolds and the Rogue, and a little bit happy it's done and over, and we can now relax for a couple days and have a proper off season, and hopefully get an invite back to Worlds and come in and improve on the 6th place.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a hell of a goal you have to set for yourself to improve on 6 of the world, but I like it though. So a little more into what we were getting into over here in Iceland. You were kind of all over the board this weekend. Like you started off probably a little lower than maybe some people would have expected, and then finished at a very, very good position, 4th place. Is that kind of where you would have had yourself, or what you would have thought for this one? Yeah,
the goal coming in was at least a top 5 finish, and then had a pretty unlucky first day. And a bunch of us just had a little bobble there on the stone press. Yeah. And it cost me a lot of points, but I was able to dig back on day 2 and day 3, and was just missed out on the podium there. I kind of got done what I did to Jeffers to get here. I beat him by half a point, and I got beat by half a point on the podium. So, I don't know. I guess we'll call it fair.
Yeah, and I mean this is a show where it's like the numbers that guys like when you just look at like the raw numbers on say strength results or whatever, Strongman archives, whatever it might be. The weights themselves aren't like crazy. The yoke was like 370 kilos or whatever it was. Yeah. The farmers were like 320 a hand. I'm going back and forth in kilos and pounds, but there's nothing that like you'd be like, wow, this is an amazingly heavy show. But they're all done in the cold. They're done on a beach. They're done like we had like the first day was 5 hours outside in the cold.
Oh, easily, yeah.
Yeah, so it's hard to really compare this to like say like a show that you've done that's a little more like carefully controlled, like say Strongest Man on Earth or whatever, where everything is very carefully calculated, everything's very specific, climate controlled, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So how does a show like this does it like rock your world in any way? Is it kind of par for the course for you at this point?
Yeah, it's a little par for the course, I guess. It's with the weights being a little bit lighter, but people can say what they want, but they're not here in the elements. Like the weights are lighter, but the risk of injury or the danger, like the Husafell, like we're walking on ice, and until we got here and yourself, like we didn't realize how truly uneven that ground was, and there's a couple little up and down spots, and some guys were running with it, and they're taking a big risk of maybe. Yeah. A bad injury happening, but
Shane Flowers almost took a little dip on that one.
Yeah, he had a little stumble and he caught himself, but this was a hell of a contest with the elements. But luckily, last February when we did Max and Sam's, it was probably a little bit colder. Fortunately, it was only one day, but it until you compete in the cold, like people have no idea what it's like to truly do that.
It's like it adds this whole element to it that's like. the weight heaviness is obviously one thing, but when your body just isn't responding the way that you want it to, it's hard to grab. Like your fingers don't like articulate the way that you want them to, and shit like that. Like it's just not the same. You can't really explain it to somebody.
You just got, especially on the stone press. The stones are cold; they're outside, and if you're a little bit later in the mix to go, there's a little bit more ice on them. They're a little bit more wet, so you really only got kind of one go at them before your hands go numb, and then. Whatever kind of balance you could feel in your hands, it's gone.
The platform gets wet, and the salt gets wiped away, and all that shit.
Yeah, we got all the excuses on why we didn't do good. So
here's the point that I'm trying to make: is that it's not my fucking fault that I didn't do well in this competition.
The stones were heavy and slippery and icy and dirty, and
there was edges on them that hurt people's fingers.
They weren't calibrated at all. They were not IPF approved.
No, that's very, very true.
So
I mean, I think that it's kind of one of those things that like. I mean, maybe I don't want to do it again right away, but I think it's something that everybody should kind of experience if you want to be a really well-rounded athlete in strongman. Like to say that you have this kind of under your belt, and you did a winter show to get here, like you said, so you kind of had a little bit of experience with it already. But we saw guys like Evans Nana was dying in the cold.
Yeah, it's not like this in Ghana. I'll tell you that.
Rongo Keane and T there were not doing super well with just the because it's summertime where they're from right now. So it was a drastic change. Paige, you had something to say over there?
I was just gonna say, doesn't Evans live in Belgium?
Is
it not cold there?
Yes.
Oh well, then no excuse then I suppose. Actually.
Yeah, no excuse. Sorry, Evans.
Sorry, Evans.
Yeah.
So, it's been a hell of an experience here, and it's one of those ones where it reminds me because of the first CSM that I did was 3 days too. Yeah. And when it's done, it's like you're looking forward to it. You can't wait for it, and then when you're done, you're like, I'm so glad this is over now, and it's just like
your body just feels lighter.
Yeah.
Beat up but lighter.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go into a little bit about that like really stellar year that you had.
Lucky year.
The lucky year that you had. I'm sorry.
Lucky lucky.
I keep misspeaking. Like you didn't do anything to earn it.
I didn't.
You just,
I truly didn't.
You just got.
I just showed up. I showed up. They were handed to me.
So you started at like this whole streak that you were on. We'll call it. It started at OSG in 2023.
Yeah.
Stellar performance there. The fastest bag toss that anybody's ever done at OSG, which I think maybe surprised non-Canadians.
Yeah.
Like we all kind of know. Like between you and Max. We have some of the best bag throwers in the world right now.
JF and all the guys before Jimmy and Ben Ruxtel and Carl Yelholt. The guys that I was fortunate to come up with that are now, most of them are retired, but they're the reason I'm as good as I am at bags. And but I was humbled this weekend with Shane. Shane throws them like Max, so I'm going to have to figure out how to throw them that way or just get it even quicker. So
he kind of like gets rid of technique in the interest of just making it faster, and he's so strong and explosive that it still works. Like it's like most guys, if they tried to throw it the way that he threw it, it wouldn't go anywhere. Nothing would happen. That was a pretty fucking unreal run. But I think that a guy, and I would put Shane Flowers in there too, but someone would look at you and maybe not think like, okay, he's going to be the most explosive athlete. You're a big guy. Is that something that you had to work on? It kind of came to you naturally, or?
I think I was kind of lucky with the throwing, but also luckily when Ben Ruxtel, former Canadian pro, when I was coming up, he had a good little circuit back in Ontario, and every show we threw at that time bags weren't in, so we threw kegs, but every show I'd do probably about one or two a month for our season, and just seemed like every show I would get one more. And it comes down to just, I think, the way guys approach it. Like, if you're not going to finish the run, and I figured this out myself, like, if I'm not going to finish the run and we're not taking split times, you just got to take it one at a time. You take your 60 seconds and just learn to throw them. But eventually I was just able to make my way through the run, and then I can work on the speed, and then you work on trying to shave off seconds from there as well. So it seemed to be an event that either some guys had it, or some guys didn't, and I guess maybe with my athletic background, it just came a bit more naturally to me. But
that makes sense.
Yeah, so
to go off on a little bit of a tangent, like you're similar to me in a way that you're sort of a historian of Canadian strongman in a way. Like you know a lot of the older guys, you know a lot of like, and not even just in your area, you're pretty familiar with the whole scene. You came up in a time when Ontario was like on fire.
At its peak,
like,
I'd say.
Unreal, the talent that was coming out of there. Like the kind of stuff that you could drop them in competitions all over the world. The top 5 there could go be top 5 just pretty much anywhere.
Yeah, they could hold their own at a Giants Live or you know, this show this weekend, they could hang in there with the guys. And
So you were a guy who was like not at that level at first, at least, obviously,
No.
right? So like that trial by fire, is that I mean, obviously worked long term for you, but did you realize at the time how much that was going to be helping you like going forward, like working with these like incredibly strong guys and getting your head kicked in over and over again?
100%. I think more guys, and not to throw the Fed under the bus, but like in Strongman Corp, I think more guys need to try and step up. And even some of the circuit shows, they're not just for pros. If you ask JF,
Sure.
And you're at that teeter-totter level, he might let you in, and it's kind of a pro-am. And coming and getting your ass kicked by us or other guys, you see how we warm up, you see how we're doing it. You can just ask us how we're doing things, and we'll tell you. And when I came up, that was the other thing. I watched the guys who were stronger than me, and then I was talking with them, and then you get to know them. And then maybe they become training partners for you, or you see them every couple months, and you get a training session in, and you learn all the tips and the tricks, and that's what it comes down to eventually. Is you got to start learning the tricks of the tricks of the trade, But yeah,
I think a lot of people might not realize how much Strongman is like a collection of small things put together.
Oh,
a lot of
100%.
events or like competitions in general. It's not like here's your one big piece of advice you're going to take that's going to change your fucking career. But here's 10 small things that you can take with you and that you'll learn at 10 different shows that are going to make you a completely different athlete by the time it's done with.
You got to build all the links in the chain. As much as everyone wants to just be a big deadlifter and a big log press, that's 2 events, and you're not going to win a show that way. So you got to build the links. You got to do all your accessories just as hard as you're doing your main movements, because the accessories build the main movements. And I see so many people in the gym they beat the log press to death, and they wonder why it's not going up. Well, you're not doing side delts. You're not doing your rear delts. You're not banging out your triceps. You got to build it, and eventually it will come.
Yeah,
And
I think that you're also a testament to like the process, because you're a young guy, but you've been at this for a long time.
Yeah, I got in 2014. I think I was 17 or 18, and I came in a little cocky. Thought I could maybe be like the next Brian Shaw. You hear the older guys, they come in like, oh, I won my first show, and then it just went on from there. And I was like, I could be one of those guys. Came in, and then I was like, oh, I don't want to be last today.
and you just saw no difference between yourself and Brian Shaw physically or anything?
No. We're virtually the same person, a foot shorter, 150 pounds less, same guy. But it really did come down to the guys that I came up with, because they taught me, and I learned from them the older ways, and you gotta clang and bang and blood, sweat, and tears, man. Like, there's no secret. It's just the hard work, day in and day out.
Fucking love it.
Yeah.
So to go back to the OSG stuff again.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it's always kind of kept like mysterious, like, because Worlds is an invitational. It's not, if you don't qualify for it, you get invited for it, right? So it was never like 100% clear that the podium gets there, although it's kind of happened in the past. But so you didn't know that you're going to Worlds. You were hopeful, I'm sure. But when that call came, there's so many shakeups in that year for guys who were in and out and all that shit. When you got the call, I mean, like, besides the obviously, like, I'm happy and I'm excited.
Yeah.
Are you like? Were you like, I'm fucking ready for this? Were you I'm not ready for this yet? Or what was the feelings you had?
At the moment, it was an oh shit moment, because kind of was done with OSG. I think I got the invite late March or so, and I was like ready for an off season, and I was like, well, that's not allowed. We have to get right back to it, because it's Worlds. So at the time, I'm like, well, I'm kind of at that level, but maybe the bottom end of the level. So we need to get back to the drawing board and get back with JF and just get our nose back to the grindstone and just keep working, because there's always things to improve on. Even if you win, that's one show.
Yeah,
that means I was the strongest guy that day, that weekend, that show. Doesn't mean I'm the best all around.
True. So when you got to Worlds and you kind of had that moment where let's say you walked to the rules meeting or whatever, when all the athletes are there, do you get a feeling of like, I'm one of these guys, or you're like, I'm entering the lion's den, or what's like sort of the like, when you kind of start to see these guys that are at that next level, and you realize that like, you're a fucking big guy. It's way you could walk around anywhere and people be like, geez, that guy's a fucking giant. But all of a sudden you go there and you're not really a giant anymore. Does that fuck with your head at all, or do you even notice those kind of things?
No, the size thing doesn't really bother me anymore. Like, most of the guys, you're like, yeah, you're big. You're not that much bigger. Really, only Hathor and Brian, like those guys are just absolutely larger than life. But when you ask, like when I got there, what was going through my head, it's just, and I think it'll never go away. It's just that I really belong here, and I don't think I belong here, but I gotta try and earn my seat at the table. And to this day, I know it's only my first big year, but I still don't think I've earned my seat at the table. I might be in the room, but I'm just in the background listening. No one's looking at me, right? So we're just going to have to try and have another couple lucky standout performances and try and earn that seat at the table.
So, okay, I like that. That's really interesting because it's. I think that a lot of guys, see themselves as the big dog well before they get to World's Strongest Man.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. It's kind of refreshing to hear that where somebody who's been to the biggest dance that there is.
Yeah.
Going there once isn't enough for you.
No. That's JF asked me, I think it was 2 years ago, just about CSM. He said, "Do you think you can win it?" I said, "I think I can win it. I don't want to win it just one time." I said, "I want to win it 10 times."
Right.
So I want to chip you one time. And but the caliber of guys at CSM now, it's just we're so back and forth. Mm-hmm. It's I give JF a little bit of credit on this one. He did say like it was not easier for him to win, but there wasn't too many guys at his level at that time, so it was quote unquote a little bit easier for him to get the wins. Whereas now we've got 7-8 guys. We all go back and forth on each event. Whereas JF would he'd win 7 out of 10 events, but then take second in 3 or something. So. It can go any way now.
I mean, even at this CSM, like you said, you beat Jeffers by half a point at that Shippigan show. He takes you on this one.
Yeah.
It really goes back and forth like that. And the Canadian guys are, it's everyone's very much in the mix in those, that you talk about the top 10 guys or whatever. And a show could go any way, like Gabe won this year, but it sure would have been shocking to see you up there or Jeffers, or if Joey was a little healthier, you know what I mean? Like he had a rough day, and that wasn't, that was...
It happens.
Yeah, exactly. That's part of the game, but... Any of these guys could be the Fred, you know what I mean? These are all very viable cases to make for Canada's Strongest Men.
For sure. And it comes down to, our prep, the last 3 years, 3 or 4 of us have gone from, whether it's Easterns in late June, and then we have North Americas at the end of July, and then we have Shaw Classic in the middle of August, and then CSM has been the weekend directly after the Shaw, I think all 3 years in a row. So there's been 3 or 4 of us coming off a plane on, Sunday or Monday, getting home, sleeping for 2 days, and then hopping on a plane to come to Quebec and compete again for another 2 or 3 days. At a show that most people don't realize it's quite at the level and the weights as, Shaw and the Worlds, if not above on some events,
Yeah, it's international level weights at a national level show all the time. And that's what I was going to say is that you do all those... You do all those shows, and you come back and do one more show. That's not a day off.
Yeah, no,
I've said this a million times in here, but this year at World's Strongest Man was 6 events in one day, and no break, break event. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like no sandbag throw, no front hold, nothing like that. That was like, okay, we can all kind of catch our breath and save our backs a little bit here. It was just like back.
Just pounding us right into the ground, and we moved at a good pace this year because the rain was coming in, so we had to get everything in and done before that showed up.
Yeah, I forgot about that. That was sort of like a rush thing.
Rain just 10 minutes after the awards were given out. So,
and I think, but JF is known for being a guy who makes his shows very hard, very heavy, and is pretty merciless about it. Like, he doesn't have a lot of sympathy for guys who can't hang on that level. If you're not there, you should. If you can't do it, you shouldn't be there. It's pretty simple for him.
And that's exactly it. Because as much as it's not necessarily a qualifier for Worlds, but if we were lucky enough that they needed a guy and they pick Canada's Strongest Man, whoever it be, JF wants that guy to be at that level. Sure. We don't want to send a guy to Worlds or to another top show and then they look bad, because they don't just make themselves look bad. They make the rest of us look bad, because then the promoters go, well, if that's the top guy,
right,
we can't pick another guy.
Where do we go from there? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think a lot of people even using the show as an example, the events were very hard and there were so many variables at play. I didn't hear you out there saying, "Oh, it's fucking the thing was wet," and I'm not saying guys were complaining.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that you didn't hear Tristan, or myself, I don't think, at least being like, complaining about things that were outside of our control because it's just you just kind of learn to roll with the punches after some of these Canadian shows because sometimes you get fucked on those shows and that's just the way it goes. You know what I mean? The fucking they're hard, heavy, difficult shows, and you're doing them on the rodeo grounds on sand or whether it's wet or whatever it might be, and it's just like hard to predict.
It's just strongman. The strongest man will win.
Strongest man will win. Everyone fucking knows that, right?
Yeah.
So after Worlds, you had. So let's actually not moving past Worlds here. I want to get into the world record that you got a little bit here. So you threw the keg for give me the meters for me.
Maybe 4. No, it'd be over 4 meters.
It was over 4.
Yeah, close. I think it was like 7.
Do you know what feet?
It was 20.
This is a humble man right here. He doesn't even know his own fucking record. I meant to look it up.
Maybe 22.
But it was a world record though.
At the time, it was a world record.
It was the world record.
A shared world record, unfortunately, with Tom Staltman and Mitchell Hooper.
So, but who got it first?
I did.
That's right.
And
the original Moose.
The original Moose. Baby.
If we followed the rules that Brian Shaw had set at the Shaw Classic, I technically would have won the event because I never missed a single throw.
Right, that's right.
Until after we tried to break the world record at which we had set.
That's right.
Yeah.
I like seeing
lucky days.
Yeah.
Here and there.
Lucky world records. They happen, man. They happen. It was just really cool to see. Like a guy that I competed with, a guy that I just been like we hung out at CSM and stuff, and to see you be like, he broke Brian Shaw's fucking record, and then the best that like Tom Stoltman could do was tie it, you know what I mean, or Mitch Hooper or whoever, like it was just like, man, this is fucking, it was a very surreal feeling for me at home just watching, you know what I mean?
No one was expecting me to do that.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Being the new guy, not a whole lot of people know who I am, and really only like myself or Tristan and maybe 1 or 2 other guys and JF in the background. Like we knew that I was capable of it. It was just a matter of going out there and doing it.
Yeah.
And then as the throws kept going, people were like, "Oh, okay, this guy can throw," So.
Side note: it's 7.76 meters.
4 we said.
I don't know.
Double it.
We're a metric country or whatever, but we use feet. So
man, it's so embarrassing being here, and like the European guys are giving me all the kilos, and I'm just like, oh fuck. I'm like,
I need round kilos, and I can do 100 is 221, and 400 is 881.
I have the standbys like that, but and then somebody said to me like, isn't Canada metric? I'm like, kind of, like it's half
50-50.
Yeah. Okay, so following World's Strongest Man, you like. We were kind of just waiting, like, what's next for, like, you and Tristan at the same time. Like, what the fuck are these guys going to do next? And the next thing was Strongest Man on Earth, I think, right? That was the next big one?
North America.
North Americans.
The next invite was Shaw. Yeah, that came a few weeks after, but the next show was North America's.
So, you went and did North Americans. Super heavy show.
Yeah,
like
not as heavy as last year. Or at least it didn't feel as heavy as last year, but it's still a very heavy. I think it's just because we didn't have a yoke.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the yokes just they just beat you up so much.
Yeah, and it's that the North American show is kind of like secretly becoming one of the heaviest shows in the world.
I would say so. Yeah.
Yeah, it's another like JF masterpiece where it's just brutally hard, but it was fun to watch the clips of it, and I'm hoping that we can get a live stream this year because it's a really, really great competition.
Yeah, it would be great to get that out to the more eyes on TV or online, however we can do it. Because, like it used to be an Arnold Classic qualifier, and we used to have the top guys in the world. Brian used to compete at it, even when it was North America's, and then when it was the Arnold Classic qualifier, Vitautas Lalas, Avars was there. Like it's got history. I think it's one of the longest running shows in Quebec, and it's top tier.
It is, and it's. I'm going this year, and it's going to be. I gotta get some getting ready done.
We just need a couple lucky days.
That's all I need. If I can get 2 in a row, I should
there
be
you
good.
go.
Okay, so we North Americans. It was a fucking crazy show, but it was fun to watch. The next one that more people might have seen because it was streamed or made available in that way. The Strongest Man on Earth, formerly the Shaw Classic. Unbelievably heavy events. Like that's kind of the like people who know Strongman, everyone knows World's Strongest Man. Everyone like that's the title, right? But people who know Strongman know that for a long time the Arnold's was really like the heavy show, like the heavy of the two.
Yeah.
That if you won that one, you were probably
the strongest man on Earth. Yeah.
And I think that Smo, Strongest Man on Earth, is taking that title now where world's strongest man will always be world's strongest man.
Yeah.
But if you win the strongest man on earth or do well or even get invited,
Yeah.
you're truly one of the strongest men
Yeah.
on earth. Like, that was insane.
Yeah, I think Brian's kind of taken his era of the Arnold Classic and bringing it to his show,
Yeah.
but also having a bit of an athletic component, which is where the Arnold kind of lacked for less. Not to say that it wasn't athletic, but it was really more just static.
Yeah.
And Brian's bringing a bit of an athletic aspect to his show about it. So
Well, it's always on that stage, right? So they're like
Yeah,
they're kind
they
of
were
limited by
very
what they
limited.
can do. Yeah, and the Shaw has that huge arena. Like,
Yeah.
it was unbelievable to watch. And again, we had the 2 Canadian boys there representing very, very well.
yeah,
Three-
4 of us actually.
There was
Me,
4.
Max, Tristan,
Max, fuck.
and
Yeah,
Hooper.
whatever.
Yeah.
And somebody
Three's
else.
good.
Yeah.
we had the 3 Canadian boys there.
Yeah.
Sorry, I forgot Max was there
It's
too.
okay. We didn't have standout performances, so
But and that's the thing too, though, is that like it's crazy to think that how these shows they swing back and forth, where they said you have 6th place at World's Strongest Man,
Yeah.
and it's not so hot at Strongest Man on Earth, but it's just
Yeah.
it's hard to predict how these things are going to go.
yeah. And Max was coming off a absolute dominant performance at North America's
Yeah.
2 weeks prior, and again, like we said, it's a heavy show. So for him to bounce back and then do another heavy show,
Yeah.
it's not easy.
Yeah, he had a string of bad luck there for a little while,
Yeah.
and that was like his finally like, oh, Max is back with
Yeah,
North
yeah.
Americans, and so we were all very excited to
Yeah.
see how he did at the next few shows there.
Yeah.
So I'll put you on the spot a little bit here then too.
Yeah.
So you at that point you had done Worlds, you've done Strongest Man on Earth. What was like the harder competition? Like what would you say was the truer test of who the strongest person on this planet was?
The strongest, it's definitely like Brian's competition. It's just because it's over the 2 days, but harder on the body, I'd say, might be Worlds, but just because it lasted so long.
Right.
We were there for I think 7 days total, but you're competing for 2 days, had a day off, and then if you made the finals, 2 more days, and just to continue to do those weights at that level for that span of time, it truly just beats you up.
I mean, I have to imagine that even the day off is not like a relaxing.
No.
Like, you're thinking about it. You're already tired and beat
Yeah.
up. I'm sure you're anxious, especially being your first time doing it.
Yeah, you got the nerves for, I made the final, so I thought I did good in the heats. Now I got to do that again, if not better. And I felt worse on that day off. That was my worst day ever. I felt like someone hit me with a car.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you have any specific like protocols or things that you did to get yourself ready for the finals?
They,
Physical or mental?
Not so much mental, just just trying to not get ahead of myself and just make sure we do what we can do, and we try to push above that. But just make sure that we got into the massage room and everything, and they had the cold tubs there, so just in the cold and into the pool and everything, stretching out, trying to just limit injury and everything as best you can. But everybody's on the same playing field, so you just do what you can.
For sure. I'm interested in what you said there, like not so much the mental side of things, because you're a guy where I think a lot of people probably find you pretty intimidating. You're
Either that or an asshole.
I use the nice term for it, but you're a keep to yourself kind of guy.
Yeah.
You're not the kind of guy who's I want to be careful how I word this. It's not meant to be like anything other than like you're not in competitions to like make friends.
No.
You're there to compete, and you
Yeah.
have friends there. I'm not
Yeah.
saying that no one likes
Yeah.
you. I'm saying that and I think that Max is a very similar way too, where he goes into kind of like a zone when he's there to compete, and he's
Yeah.
not really there to make friends. He's just there to
Yeah.
whatever. And then afterwards, it's
Yeah.
whatever, right? But
When we punch the clock, we're there to do our job,
Right.
and then when we punch out, let's have fun. We'll
Right.
hang out in the hot tub, we'll have a few beers,
Right.
whatever you want to do. But when we punch that clock, it's time to go to work.
And I think there's guys like say like we met him. I met him this weekend, like Evans Nana,
Yeah.
who's like the exact opposite end of the spectrum.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's you, who I think, like I said, people might think that you're
An asshole.
an asshole, but like you're just a guy where it's just you're focused on shit.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say?
Yep. Yeah, for sure. And I would attribute it as well to like the era that me and Max came up with. Like, it was not so much you came in and everyone's like, "Oh, you're a strongman. I'm a strongman. We're friends now."
Right.
It was you came in and "Oh, you're the new guy. Well, we're the vets. We got to earn your respect." You do something in front of them and they're like, "Hey, kid, good job." You're like, "Okay, we got our little foot in the door," and you keep going. And eventually, again, like you talk to the guys, you ask them this and that, and then you slowly build, a friendship with them, and then you become friends with them, and then you see them all over and it just goes from there. But you don't just walk in and you're like, oh, we're friends now.
Right.
Yeah.
There's something to be said for like the hierarchy and like earning people's respect rather than like just
That's it exactly.
You walk in the door and everyone has to be your buddy for fear of being called a bully or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And there is a hierarchy. You're not the new guy coming.
We're back.
Okay, we're back. Slight
Sorry,
pause there.
guys.
No, it's all good. Fix the
Pee break.
yeah. Okay, so what we're talking about though was kind of earning your respect in the hierarchy, and that was something we just mentioned this earlier today. That's the thing with JF too, where you can see him and he's friendly, he's polite.
Yep.
But you don't really get through to that next level with him until he sees that this is something that you're serious about.
Yeah.
You're really ready to push.
Start
things
proving yourself out on the field. You know.
Do you remember? Do you kind of remember what that moment was for you with JF? If there was a specific thing.
I know at my first CSM, I don't remember exactly what the event was, but I did something and I came back and he said, "Hey Wes, good job," and I was like, "Oh, okay." he knows my name, and I was like, "Hey, there we go." But I think maybe after COVID, when I came back and I got second at CSM, I think that kind of got his eyes on me a bit more, since I'm not a guy from Quebec, and I was one of the more first guys kind of hit a podium that wasn't from Quebec or something like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just from there, I think we just built, and then I also hired him on as coach, so he had to talk to me.
He had to be nice to you.
Yeah, I paid for his friendship.
Would you have been the first non-Quebec guy to be on the podium since like Scott Cummin?
No, Max and Carl.
Oh, it was I always loved it.
Carl for sure, but Max
Carl,
is
right.
French, so
Yeah.
he
I
ties
always
in.
think of him as being Quebec, but he's not. That's not fair.
Yeah, and Ben Ruxtall also was on the podium. He got third. I don't remember the year, but he
That was after Scott.
Yeah, I believe after Scott. Yeah, in 2010, 2012, Scott would have been there, I think. But yeah,
Just speaking to that amazing caliber of that OSM
crew,
you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, we go back. It was Paul Valancourt, Ben Ruxtall, Eric Rottenberg, Luke Scarab, Lance, Carl Yelholt, Kyle Rayner, Andre. Just like the field was very, very deep and very strong when I came into the sport.
Yeah.
So I was very thankful that I had those guys, because I don't know if I'd be the athlete I am today without them. So
yeah.
And DPJ.
yeah, and that guy. No one knows who that guy is, so it's okay.
Who's DPJ?
David Peter Jennings. He was a strong guy. I don't think he podiumed, but he was like top 5, I think, the one time at CSM. But yeah, he's a nice guy.
Okay, great. DPJ.
Yeah.
That's the highest compliments you can get from us, I think.
Because when I was like breaking in Manitoba, it was like, okay, you kind of go to like Manitoba had nothing going on at all.
Yeah.
So you would go to Regina, you'd sort of test yourself to see how you're doing there, because they were good there.
Yeah.
There was guys who were like
you had Brad
and all these guys that were out there.
Scott, and then before them you had Jeff.
Yeah,
lots
of really talented guys, and like Isaac was coming up, and these guys, and
but
then there was kind of like there's like the Ontario scene. It's like you don't go over there. Like that's not you're like you make sure that you're really ready before you consider doing something like that, because that's just like it's next level shit over there.
Yeah, I think it just came down to we just competed more too as well. We just had more opportunity as well. So.
Yeah, because I would see like say Rayner, because he would come do some of ours. The Northwest Ontario guys would come over and we'd go do some of theirs. And the guy who sort of like broke me into Strongman was like, he's not the best guy over there. Mm-hmm. Like there's more, and they're even better. And it's just like, holy shit! It was like hard to even wrap your head around at that point. You know, like I knew so little about Strongman, and I knew so little about like the Canadian scene. I kind of knew like the World's Strongest Man stuff. I'd watched it all, but I didn't know like how deep the Canadian talent was at that point.
Yeah, the roots go deep, much further in Quebec, but Ontario's got some pretty deep roots as well.
Yeah, I think it'd be really interesting to get like someone to do like, sort of like a collection of all like the history of Ontario Strongman, because there's a lot there.
Yeah, Travis Linden well before in the Hugo Girard era, and there's a handful of guys just right in there, but Travis I think was kind of the first standout guy, and then from there we just kind of started building.
Do you see any? I usually ask this a little bit later in the thing, but since we're on the conversation here, what?
Put the mics up to your face
like right here,
a little bit more.
All right. Do you see any? Because so you train mostly on your own in Niagara.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Just myself and Paige.
Yeah. Do you see guys in Ontario around you, Niagara, the bigger picture, whatever, as like this guy's somebody to watch out for? This is somebody who's going to do some shit.
There's guys that have the potential, but they don't have the drive. I haven't seen it yet. There's been, I've had a few guys that have trained with us over the years, and they're in and out, or they're just, they don't quite have that next little switch to flip, and it also comes down to like how much time and effort you really want to put in it. Because as much as I do work regular jobs, this is my number one. I've quit many jobs just so that I could keep going on this.
Sure.
And I don't blame guys. They have careers and families and things like that. So they're prioritizing their life over the strongman, which I do the opposite.
Right.
So I think that's more a big thing. And then just the drive. But we have had in the last 5 years a few guys that could definitely be good guys on the circuit. But it's just a matter of them taking that next step and joining us. So, but it just is what it is.
Fair enough. And you talked about like guys who have to prioritize other things over like say family or whatever. You're very lucky. We talk about this a lot on the show here with different people, but you're very lucky that you have. She's in the room here right now, Paige. Yeah. You have a partner who doesn't make you compromise. As far as I know, doesn't make you compromise. For your goals and your dreams and your aspirations in strongman, which is like, I know guys who their partners
they're
have
childish dreams, really. Like, we're just guys picking up rocks,
it's
in a parking lot, and it's like, I'm gonna do something with this, and it's like, what are you gonna do? I'm gonna earn $5, and a free T-shirt.
I'll get a sweet shirt out of it for sure. Yeah, I get 9 shirts at a competition.
Travel all over Canada and now all over the world, just dragging her along behind me, but,
right.
We get to see the world now on someone else's dime, which is really at the end of the day, if God forbid I never win any major titles, I'm traveling the world on someone else's dime, making friends around the world, and having experiences that a lot of people are just sitting at home working 9 to 5. And
absolutely,
they don't do anything else with their life. So
for sure,
I'm okay with it.
And do it with somebody you love too.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because it's like I've seen guys who their partners. Whether it's strongman or any other kind of like weird niche endeavor, like I used to be in wrestling, so I'd see a lot of it there. They're a nail in the coffin rather than the help that you'd want to have. Yeah. And so if you find somebody who can put up with your bullshit,
keep them.
You keep them. That's the best advice I think that anybody could give. So, oh my God, too much Coca-Cola.
Tristan, it's Coca-Cola.
It's a strongman. All right, so following Strongest Man on Earth.
Yeah.
You had yet another massive show, which was the Giants Live Final in Scotland. First time going to Scotland?
Yes.
Yeah? How was that?
It was good. Food was not good, but the show itself was good, and it was good to get the first Giants under the belt because as a stadium show, we were in and out in about 3 hours.
Yeah.
And, just coming off CSM, we thought that show was quick. Giants Live was even quicker. And it was next level. You really got to be on the ball and primed and ready to go for those shows.
Yeah. It was. I think that was probably my favorite Giants Live to watch. It was for sure of the year, and maybe one of my favorite ones of all, because the crowd was so great for it. They were so fired up. Like you said, it moved at a really good pace. Mm-hmm. The events were good. I just generally really like that one, especially kind of coming off of the Vegas one, which was know. So it really was like a really night and day difference. It felt a lot like the Royal Albert one.
Yeah, it was. The crowd in Scotland is amazing. They're next level. And then we also didn't really have, not to knock the other shows, but we didn't have anybody really drop out of injury. Jocko dropped out. He had some lung issues, but only one guy fell out, and the rest of us stayed in. So it's a full field of guys. Whereas I think in Vegas they had 4 or 5 guys drop out due to injury. It's the way it goes. But we had a full roster for virtually the whole contest, and that can make a huge difference as well in the placings and everything.
So even though you've already done Worlds and Strongest Man on Earth, that's got to be the biggest crowd you were in front of, I think, right? Was Smol bigger than that one?
Not this year. Last year, not for the amateur shot classic,
right?
But for contests for myself, Scotland was definitely the biggest crowd.
So does that, like, for a guy like you that like I said earlier, is so like kind of dialed in and like introverted, does that affect you in a good way, a bad way, not at all? Like, is that something you even notice when you're out there?
It's not something I really notice, but like the announcers do say, like, the louder they cheer, it gives us more energy, and when you're sucking wind or you need that extra rep, like that crowd definitely gets behind you, and it can give you that extra rep or the extra couple feet that you need.
For sure.
Yeah.
When you're getting ready to go out, say they always have like the flag carrying ceremony in the beginning, or even when you're just kind of having that moment when you're about to have your first event and you can see all the people around you, and you can hear the noise and stuff. Do you get those like? Does it make you nervous? Does it make you like? Do you get those any kind of feelings of like, holy shit, like this is gonna be?
Yeah, you get that little bit of anxious feeling, but I think like most guys, like, okay, let's just get the first one over with, and then boom, it's gone, and we're back to going to work and getting things done. But yeah, it's like any sport you play, that whistle blows, bang, the adrenaline's going, and we're ready to fire.
Right.
So, but yeah, the bigger the crowd, the better the show, 100%.
Yeah. That was one that when I saw that you were, someone told me, or maybe you were announced or whatever, that you were going to be doing that specific one, I knew that was going to be a really, really fun one because they don't do shit in Scotland very often. They did twice in a very short period of time with the Rogue one there.
Yeah.
But it's been a long time since there's been like strongman stuff that's been like at least a big deal in Scotland. Like, they have Scotland's Strongest Man and all that. But it was and it was a really fun show too because there was lots of like new faces on it, like yourself included. It was like
Evans Nana was there. I think Jocko did his first one. Unfortunately, he pulled out the first.
Patty Haynes was on that one, I think.
No,
the other one. My bad. Sorry.
But yeah, there was the other Scottish guy. I'm sorry for forgetting his name. Yeah, he did his first one. Another hometown boy. Yeah. But yeah, there was a lot of new faces for Giants Live that was there. So we all kind of had to learn on the ball how fast things were going.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I liked that one was picked for me because it was nothing too special about it. It wasn't the max log, max. It was just a straight strongman contest. So we didn't have to prioritize one event over the other. Sure. We could just battle it out through the 5 or 6 events that we did there.
That's kind of always my thing that when I watch Giants Live is they sometimes kind of start to feel like one starts to feel like the next a little bit. You see some of the same events, you see a lot of the same guys, and like obviously you want to see those top name guys. Everyone wants to see the best guys compete. But I really, really appreciate when you get an opportunity to give new guys a crack at it too and show that they can do it just as well as the big names or whatever it might be.
Yeah, for sure. Like I got to earn my spot there, but then a few of the guys got the invite, and I think we all stepped up to the plate and gave them what they deserved. And hopefully we'll all get a couple invites next year and maybe other invites to other shows out of it.
Yeah. So I got ahead of myself by one here, but I want to take it back one step too, because you did see us like if we're going all the way up here for these ones, but a step down for CSM too. And the reason that I want to specifically bring that one up is I kind of always bring this up when we talk about CSM.
Yeah.
And I mention you a lot in it on the show here too, because so we've just talked about the year you had. We talked about the show you were doing after CSM. You had the Magnus coming up later on in the year. You have all these internationals that you're doing, but you still did CSM.
Yep.
You still took the time to take that that week off, whatever, to get yourself ready for your body ready for it. You got yourself to Quebec.
Yep.
Let's say Pampille.
15-hour drive.
15-hour drive. There you go.
One way.
Yeah. So there
for a 1-day show.
So I really like to stress these things because I think it's important that everybody knows who's involved in Canadian Strongman how important Canada's Strongest Man is to the top guys.
Yeah.
I think that you look at America's Strongest Man, and they really struggle to get guys to even do it.
Yeah.
Which is a shame. But for Canada's Strongest Man, it takes no convincing for guys.
No.
In fact, it takes guys like Tristan being injured to not be to be forced. Yeah. Like he's like and he was hurt and still planned on doing it until he aggravated it. These guys are like forced out of it to not be able to do it. And like you said, all the stuff you had going and all the fact that you had to drive there and all the shit, and you still did it. Why is that? Why is Canada's Strongest Man so important to the top guys as one of the top guys?
It just comes down to pride. I think going into the America's Strongest Man, I don't know maybe there's some political stuff involved, but I think just they've lost the pride in wanting that title, and that has never been something that's been lost here, and at least in the top guys. Going back, JF, LPJ, Christian Savoy, all these guys, they all want to be our nation's strongest man. Whether we get something out of it or not, that title means more to us than just a paycheck at the end or whatever.
Right.
It's very important to go back home and call yourself Canada's Strongest Man, Ontario's Strongest Man, Manitoba's, whatever it may be. It just carries a lot of pride.
Yep. And I think it's like, not to give like too much of a sort of a peek behind the curtain or whatever, but like say the prize money for CSM isn't as high as for other big shows. Like that's what, and we get taken care of very, very well. So I don't mean to make that sound like it's an ungrateful thing. We get lots and lots of perks for doing that competition that make it worthwhile. But the prize money is relatively low compared to other shows. The viewership is, it's Canadian. It airs on RDS in Quebec, but it doesn't really even make Western TV in a lot of places. So it's not like we're doing it to get famous.
Yeah.
And you don't get a guaranteed anything for winning it typically. Like, you obviously get good standings and JF will vouch for you to do things and stuff like that. But you don't get, it's not like Canada's Strongest Man. You're going to Worlds or you're going to a SMO or whatever.
Just another feather in the cap, another accolade that you can put on the resume.
That's right. And it's important to guys, like you said, because there's only one guy can say that he's Canada's Strongest Man.
Yep.
And right now it's Gabe Rayum, and next year could be you, could be Jeffers, could be a lot of different guys.
Could be you.
Could be me. Yeah, we'll see. And then I hope that the Canadian athletes can understand from coming from one of the big guys, just like this is the kind of stuff that you should be striving for. Is stop thinking of yourself as like a star athlete on this like lower level and shit, or stop thinking of yourself as like trying to be like influencer type shit, and recognize the important things in strongman. The respect of the people around you, the respect of the other athletes, the respect of the guys who are running the shows, just all that shit.
Because with that title, you could potentially grow the sport in your hometown or your province. Whether if you were to win it and you'd be the first guy ever out of Manitoba. I don't even maybe possibly even the podium.
Yeah.
So
top 5 is the best anyone's gotten from Manitoba.
Yeah. So like you're bringing that back.
So we're right now in our hotel room in Iceland mine and Gian's hotel room, not mine and Wes's. In the fisherman village here in Iceland, it's a very small, very hot room.
Very cute.
It's a nice little room, and the camera keeps overheating. That's why it keeps shutting off on us.
Oh, and with Paige and I are sitting by the radiator. We're just sweating our asses off over here.
It's quite warm in here. Yeah. I can't believe you're wearing a sweater right now, actually.
Well, I'm trying to cut weight. Maybe I'll do 105. Get lucky at 105 or something.
I would love to see you at like PSL or something as a 105 athlete.
I don't think I've been 105 since I was in like grade 4.
I can only imagine. What do you weigh right now?
Like 310 maybe.
Yeah. Okay. So. Yeah, you're not like carrying a lot of extra weight though right now.
No. I'm not. I've never been a guy who like, I got to gain weight to get stronger. Just if I gain weight and I'm getting stronger, that's it. It's performance based.
Right.
If I'm getting heavier and I'm getting stronger, perfect. If I'm getting heavier and I'm getting weaker, we got to change it up.
Love it. What's on the horizon for Wes Derwinsky and Strongman? I know that's like you can't predict invitations, you can't predict shit like that. But what are the goals, aspirations for 2025 for Wes Derwinsky?
Get back to Worlds, make the finals, and then try and improve on the 6th. Maybe the podium wasn't out of reach when we look back at the scoring and things like that. I zeroed one event in the finals, so if I would have even just got one rep, I think I would have actually bumped Tristan maybe. Wow. But ifs and ands.
Yeah, of course. But
so like looking back, the podium wasn't necessarily out of reach. So try and see what the events are this year and try and get back there. Hopefully get another Shaw invite, improve again on the 9th, and I'd really like to try and take the top spot at North America's this year. Nice. I don't think too many Canadians have actually won that one. And that'd be a nice feather in the cap.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. So we're going to have to unfortunately kind of start wrapping up here. This camera's not playing ball with us right now. Wes said we could sit talk another hour, and we actually very easily could. This has been very fun, very easy.
Yeah. It's been a joy.
You're a nicer guy than people think you are.
I'm just some lucky asshole.
I have at least 3 photos of Wes smiling with teeth.
Wow. That's
genuinely
crazy.
Smiling, I think.
Nice.
It was really cold out. I was just clenching.
You're just chatting. Well, we'll start to wrap it up here, Wes. But I do want to thank you for sitting with me here in this hot ass room. No problem. You guys are leaving tomorrow morning, so I appreciate you guys taking time out of your busy packing schedule to sit here. Before we go though, do you have any kind of like parting message, words of wisdom, things you want to share with the up and comers in the Canadian strongman scene?
Trial by fire. Go get your ass kicked at a show and learn from it, and build the links in the chain. I've been doing this for 10 years, going on to 11, and I'm just getting here now. So it's not something that happens overnight. It's a lot of work and a lot of dedication. So if you want to do it, you got to go all in. There's no half-assing it. Yeah.
Love it. It's not pretty and it's not fast. So we're going to call it there for today. Thanks, guys, for listening, and we will see everybody next week with, I hope, Tristan, if we have time to sit down with him. But either way, I'll be here, so I'll see you guys next time.